Hello everyone and welcome back to Ocean Interaction. In this series, we are building the full set of highlight materials in Unreal Engine, starting from the simplest overlay and going all the way to advanced animated and interactive effect. If you haven't checked out the earlier material yet, be sure to do so. You will find the full playlist link in the description below. All these materials and code is completely free inside Core Plus Free, and the advanced versions are included in Core Plus content and any of the Core Plus paid plugin. You will find all download link right there in the description. Once you have added the Core Plus plugin, just click on the Core Plus icon inside Unreal Editor. In the assets, go to Material, Effect and Highlights. You will find all the previous highlight effect here. If you are using any of the paid version, you will also get this showcase option where you can download full pack with just one button click. In this tutorial, we are going to develop a multiplayer compatible highlighter which will highlight any mesh. You can get this module in the module section, features, components, effect, and there you will find this highlighter component. Just download and add it to your project. And remember, Core Plus keep expanding with new updates, material and effect. So getting in early means you will get the lifetime access at the lowest price possible. Before we begin, just a quick favor, this tutorial requires significant amount of time and effort to design, record and edit. So if you enjoy them, please like, share and subscribe. It's totally free and it really helped me create more Unreal Engine content for you and the community. Also, don't forget to join our Discord for feedback, help and behind the scene updates. Let's see what we are going to develop in this project. First, we are going to start with the single player. Player can highlight static meshes, skeletal meshes, and a blueprint class which has any of the static mesh or skeletal mesh. A player can interact with any of the meshes, so clicking on any of the meshes will highlight these meshes. Next, we are going to implement the filters. So by enabling the filters, player will only able to highlight the meshes which are filtered by their tags. For example, I am selecting and clicking on these meshes, but none of them will be highlighted. If I click on this static mesh, it will highlight with the custom material. Same goes for skeletal mesh, but I have also set up a different overlay for this skeletal mesh and different overlay effect for this blueprint. None of the other mesh will be highlighted as it is only filtered by the tags. And these are the tags that I have added. So static mesh, and I have set it a different material for static mesh, skeletal mesh and blueprint. If I disable the filter by tags, I can again filter any of the other meshes. I can also change the highlight mode as of right now it is set to toggle. Selecting the mesh will turn on the highlight and selecting that mesh again will turn off. I can also set it to only turn on or only turn off. So if I just turn on the meshes, I only be able to highlight the meshes, but I wouldn't be able to unhighlight it. Reverse behavior is true for the off. So if there are meshes that are highlighted, I can only unhighlight that mesh. In the second part of this tutorial, we are going to make this single player into multiplayer. So then we will be able to play as a 2-player, and then any of the 1 player can update the any of the meshes, and that updates will be replicated to 2nd player. In the third part of this video, we will cover advanced scenarios where if player join in later or after the first player highlight the meshes, it will also update that meshes for the 2nd player when he join the game. So let's get started and start developing this. First, we need a 3rd person template. I have already added the third person template in this project. If you haven't, you can just click on this add button, add feature and content pack, and add this third person template to your project. Once you added the third person template, open up the third person template map. In this case, I have already set up this map for showcasing the overlay materials. I am continue using this map. Third person player is already set up as a default player for this level. I am going to continue using this. First, I need to set up a player. So I am opening up the third person player. First, I am going to select the camera boom, set the target arm length to 300 and 120 into the socket offset. Now, when I play this, I'm going to get my camera above the player so that I can set the dot widget in the middle for selecting the meshes. Next, let's do that. Let's set up a widget for crosshair. Right click, go to widget interaction and add a widget blueprint. I'm going to name it as just a default crosshair. For the crosshair, I am going to add the canvas panel. In the canvas panel, I am going to add the image. I am going to center out this image. Set the size to 0, alignment to 0.5 and 0.5, and turn on the size to content. For the brush setting, set the 8 as an image size for both X and Y. Set a draw as round box. In the outline setting, let's leave it at default. So as you can see, it has added this nice little selection in the middle of our widget. You can scale it up or scale it down or set a color for your liking. In this case, I am just going to leave it default. Compile and save. Go to third person player, add a sequencer. In the sequencer, first I am going to set up the inputs, and after the input I am going to set up a widget. For that, right click and search for create a widget node. In the create widget, set the default crosshair widget. Add to viewport. Connect the sequence 1 with this widget creation. So now when I start the game, the player will set up an input, and after that it will also set up a widget. So let's test it out. So as you can see, it has created this nice crosshair in the middle of our screen. Next, I am going to create a class with the static mesh and skeletal mesh to preview the actor highlight. For that, right click, go to blueprint classes and select actor. I am going to name it BP_demo class. In this demo class, we are just going to add one skeletal mesh and one static mesh. So go to components and add a static mesh. In this static mesh, set the default mesh that we are using throughout this tutorial series. We are going to set up our custom material instance for this mesh. This material instance is same as the default material, it just don't have the wind effect for world position offset. I have created this custom material instance in the first video of this tutorial series. You can reference that video if you want to know how I have created this. Let's save it and add a skeletal mesh. Again, for the skeletal mesh, I am continue using the skeletal mesh that we are using throughout this tutorial series. Our demo class is ready. Now let's add all of these classes into the level. I have set up static mesh, skeletal mesh and blueprint class for showcasing the normal scenarios, and I have set up the all three components again to showcase filter by tag feature. Next, we are going to set up the component that we are going to edit into the any of the class to highlight any of the classes. For that, I am going into the content browser and creating a new actor component. I am going to name it BP underscore highlighter. I am going into the third person and add this component into the player. Next, I am going to create the classes that we need. So for that, I am going into the content browser. In the blueprints, I am going to create the new folder for variables. In here, I am going to first create a new enum type. Name it enum underscore highlight mode. Open this up and add 3 new variable. First toggle, then on and off. This enum control the different mode that we will be providing to the user. So toggle will turn on and off the highlight effect. Turn on will only highlight the actors, and turn off only will de-highlight any of the highlighted actor. Next, I am going to create a structure. Name it struct underscore tag filter. In this structure, I am going to add 2 variables. First will be the tag name, and it will be of type name. Second will be the material, and it will be of type material interface. Next, I am going into the highlighter component. In here, first I am going to add a new event. Name it highlight actor. In this highlight actor, I am going to set up inputs. So first input will be the highlight actor, which will be the type of actor. Next will be overlay material, which will be type of material interface. Next will be the highlight mode, which will be the enum type we have just created for highlight mode. Next will be the tag array, which will be the type of the struct that we have just created. Next, first we are going to check if both actor and the material is valid or not. I'm going to use the AND boolean node to check if both of these are valid. Then and only then I am going to proceed further. If both of these references are valid, I am going to move ahead. But if it is not, I am going to print the error message. Next, if both of these actors is valid, I am just going to save every parameter into the variable. If you are developing a single player component for this, you can just continue the flow from here. But since I am going to convert this into the multiplayer later, I am going to add a new function. Name it set highlight actor. Make this event as private so that only this component can access it. This event will also take some parameters. First, it will take the highlight actor. Now to simply add this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the highlight actor, overlay material, and the highlight mode. So I'm just going to connect this into this, and it will automatically create a parameter for them. Again, you can just continue the execution flow here if you are just making the single player component. Next, I'm going to call this event from here, and I'm going to pass on the parameters that required for this event. Next, I'm going to create a new function called setOverlay. In the setOverlay, I am going to get two parameters. First will be the component reference. It will be of type mesh component, and it will be a single variable. Next, I'm going to get a material reference, and it will be a type of material interface. Next, I'm going to save this variable into the local parameter. So promote it to local variable. I'm going to prefix with loc so that I can differentiate the global and local variable. I have named it as loc underscore mesh component. Next, I'm going to do the same with the material reference. Next, I'm going to get the highlight mode and add a switch from this highlight node. For the toggle, I'm going to get the mesh component and check if it has a overlay material. Next, if it has a valid overlay material, I'm just going to set the new overlay material as none. And if it doesn't have a valid overlay material, I'm going to just set the new overlay material as the material passed on to this event. So let's do that. Get a mesh component and set overlay material. If it's valid, just set it to none. If it's not valid, then set it to the new material that has been passed on to this event or function. Next, same will be done for the on and off. So on, we are just going to set up the material instance, and on the off, we are just going to set none as a material overlay. Compile and save. Next, in the set highlight actor, we are going to get the highlight actor, and we are going to get the component by class. We are going to get all components of this class, and the class filter will be the mesh component. From this, we are going to get the for loop, and for the every component, we are going to set the overlay. Set overlay function, pass on this component and overlay material. Next, we are going into the third person character. In here, I'm going to get a debug key for the right mouse button click. When I press the right mouse button click, first I'm going to do the line trace. So for that, I'm going to get a line trace by channel node. For the start location, I'm going to get the follow camera and get the world location. It will give me the center location of the camera where I am looking at from. So I'm going to put it into the start. Next, I'm going to get the follow camera and get a world rotation. From this world location, I'm going to get the forward vector. This will give me the direction where my player is looking at. From the forward vector, I am going to multiply it by 1000. Now I get the forward direction, which is multiplied by 1000. Next, I am going to again get the world location, and I am going to add this into the end location that we got, and I am going to connect it into the end location. So what I am doing is I am going to get the world location. It will give me the location where my camera is located. I'm going to get the world rotation of that camera and get a forward vector which will give me the direction at which camera is looking at. I'm multiplying that value by 1000 so that I can move forward into that direction by 1000, and then I'm going to add this with the world direction, so I will get the start and end location. I hope it's clear. If it's not, let me know in the description below and I will try to explain it better there. Next, for the debugging purposes, I am going to turn on the debug for duration. Once I do the line trace, I am going to get a out heat structure. I am going to break this and I am going to get the heat actor, and if it's valid, I am going to get the highlighter and highlight that actor. For the parameter, I am going to set the heat actor as highlight actor. Material, so we can choose any of the highlight material that we have previously created. So I have just set it as a level 5 material that we have created in previous tutorials. Toggle mode will be toggle, and we can just ignore this tag array for now. We are going to implement that next. Now compile, save and see how it looks in the level. So let's try to highlight any of the meshes. So as you can see, it is working. It is highlighting all the meshes as it is frozen. Yes, it is working. The problem is it is highlighting every mesh is available in the level. Now if we don't want to do this, if we want to filter out some of the meshes, so what we are going to do for that, we are going to add a tag into the actor so that we can filter them out. For example, if I select this static mesh, I have added a tag. I have added this static mesh tag. Same goes for the skeletal mesh. I have added a separate tag for skeletal mesh. I have added a one more tag for blueprint. So based on this tag, I am going to set a different material for this different tag so that I can differentiate between the different kind of meshes. It doesn't have to be based on the static mesh or skeletal mesh or blueprint. You can just tag them out however you like. One more thing, make sure to add an actor tag, not a component tag. It will not work out for the component tag. So whenever you have the static mesh or skeletal mesh, make sure to add a tag in the actor category, not the component tag. Next, we are going into the BP highlighter. In the highlight actor, I am going to add one more variable for turning on and off tag filters. Set it as boolean, and I am going to put this first. Compile and save. I am also going to save this as variable. I am going to create a new function called filter by tag, which will give the result if this mesh needs to be highlighted or not. So create a new function called filter by tag. First, I'm going to create a new local variable. I have named it lock underscore found any tag. First, I'm going to set this as a false. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this variable as false, and I'm going to check throughout this function if the selected highlight actor has any of the tags that we have provided into the input parameter. If it does find, I'm going to make this variable as true and return. If it does not find any tag, and output as false. So first I'm going to add a return node, and I'm going to set this as a return. So based on this value, I'm going to filter out if the actor needs to be highlighted or not. I'm going to get the highlight actor, get all the tags for this actor, add a for each loop with break, and connect it to the main execution. I'm getting all the tag for this actor. I'm going and checking if any of the tag is matching with this tag. So I'm going to get this, set a for each loop with break, get a tag name. So I'm going to break this structure. I need to match this tag with this one, so I'm going to promote this into the variable. I'm going to name it lock underscore loop tag. I'm going to check if this is equal to loop tag. If it match, I'm going to set the overlay material from this structure. Set the found any tag to true and break out of this loop. So what I'm doing is I'm going to get over all the tags from the actor and check one by one with the tag that we have provided into the parameter. And if any of the tag does match, I'm going to get the material for that tag, and I'm going to set it as overlay material and exit out of this loop. If it does not find, it will just continue to the loop, into the main loop. Before I check for the tag loop, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check this, so that if I found any of the matching tag, I'm going to also loop out from this loop and then this loop as well. Add a branch node and check for if found any tag. If it's true, break out. If it's not, then loop through. And when this loop completes, I'm going to return the value. So let me go over again. I'm getting a highlight actor, then I'm getting all the tag for that highlight actor. Next, I'm going to get the tag and try to match the tags with the highlight actor tag. If any of the tag does match, I'm going to get the highlight material and set it as overlay material, and then I'm going to loop out from all of the loops and I'm going to return. In case it doesn't match with anything, I'm just going to loop out and send the false. I hope it does make sense. If it doesn't, let me know in the description below and I will try to explain it better. Next, let's compile and save. Go to event graph. Once we store all the variable, I'm going to get this filter by tag and check if we are filtering out the actor by tags. So if it's not, I'm just going to directly connect it into the set highlight actor. But if we are doing the filter by tag, so if we are filtering out the actor, I'm going to filter it and then check. After filtering, I'm getting the true as to highlight actor. I'm going to highlight that actor, else I'm going to just exit out of this function. Next, I'm going to comment it out as filter. Let's go into the player character and turn on this filter by tag, and for the tag I'm going to convert it into the variable. I have renamed it as filter tags and I have added 3 array elements. First for the static mesh, skeletal mesh and blueprint. Next I'm going into the overlay and I'm going to set different overlay material for this. So for this static mesh, I'm going to set this up as a fire, so level 7. For the skeletal mesh, I am going to set it as level 8 overlay material. For the blueprints, I am going to set it as level 11 material. As you can see, I am selecting any of the other meshes, but none of them are highlighting except for the meshes that I have added tags. So as you can see, I can only interact with the meshes that I have added the tag, and that's it for the single player. Now let's convert this into the multiplayer. First, go into the third person character, add a new event called line trace and highlight. Make it run on server. Do the line trace from this event. And from the mouse input, call this function. So this function will be called from the server. When I press the right mouse button, it will call this into the server. Now go to highlight actor. Run this event on server. Next, go to set highlight actor and make it multicast. And that's it. That's all we need to do to make it multiplayer. Now let's test it out. I'm going to play this as a listen server, and as a number of player will be set to 2. So as you can see, 2 player has been spawned in the level. First, let's test it out from the client. So client will highlight this blueprint, and as you can see, it has highlighted this actor for the both instance. Now let's highlight it from the server side. So as you can see, when server highlight any of the meshes, it get replicated into the client as well. It works, but in a special scenarios where if the player join in later, it will not work. So let me showcase that. First, I'm going to open any of the other level So this is just an empty level with nothing in it. So I'm going to play. From the player 1, I'm going to open the console command and play this level as a listen server. For that, I'm going to set open, then level name, question mark, and listen. So as you can see, I have opened this level as a listen server. And in this listen server, I am going to highlight this mesh. Now I'm going into the second player. I'm going to join this server. So I'm going to open the console command and write open and my local address. So now I have joined this server, but as you can see, the server instance has this mesh highlighted, but from the client it is not highlighted, because when the highlight event happened, this client was not present and thus it hasn't replicated that value. So now if I highlight this mesh from the client side, it will highlight the mesh from the client side but disable the highlight in the server side. Any other meshes will work just fine. However, if this player get disconnected and then reconnect, all the values will be resetted for him because he will start with the fresh copy. So next we are going to fix this scenario. Go to highlighter component and go to set overlay function. So when I highlight any of the meshes, I'm also going to add a tag called highlighted, or you can just name it whatever you want, but in this case I'm going to set the tag as a highlighted, so that whenever I play as a new instance, I'm going to search for that tag and then I'm going to highlight all the actor with that tag. So let's do that first. Whenever I highlight any of the actor, so this is the function, so I am going to get the highlighted actor, get a tag, and I am going to add a tag in here. But before that, I am going to check if it's already highlighted. So for that, I am going to search for contain, add a branch node and link it with the overlay material, and if it's not contained, I am going to then add. So what I am doing is I am going to check if it's already added into this tag, and if it's added, then I will do nothing. However, if it's not added, then I will add the tag into the tag array. So tag that I'm going to add is called highlighted. You can set the any text you want. And then I will remove this tag when I unhighlight any of the actor. So I will repeat the same process. I will get the highlighted actor and then tag, and I am going to remove it. I will repeat this process for the on and off condition as well. So when I highlight any of the object, I am going to check if it's already contained in the array, and if it's not, I am going to add it into that array. For the off, I am going to just remove the highlighted tag. And that's it for this function. Next, I am going into the event graph. I am going to add the begin play event and search for authority. I am going to run this function into the server. First, I am going to create a new variable for storing the array. I am going to create this actor array. I need one more actor array and one more material array. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to create one more actor array called highlighted actor list. Next, I'm going to add one more array for highlighted material list. For the variable type, I am going to set it as material interface. First, I am going to clear out all this array so that make sure there are no elements in this array. Next, I am going to get all the actor with the highlighted tag. I am going to set the result into the init array. Next, I am going to go over all these array elements. Get a first component of mesh component. So any of the mesh, static mesh or skeletal mesh or any mesh. Then I am going to get the overlay material and add it into the material list. Next, I am going to set this highlighted array list as a rep notify. So I am replicating this array as a rep notify, and replication condition will be initial only. And then when I complete this setup, I am going to set this highlighted actor list as an init highlighted actor. When I set this function, it will also run this function. This function will be run from the server to client. So on this function, first I am going to set the highlight mode to on. Then get all the highlighted actor list. Set a for loop. In the for loop, I am going to first set a highlighted actor. Get a material list. Get an array and set the overlay material. From the highlight actor, I'm going to get all the components by class, and the class will be the mesh component. Then I am going to set up the for loop for each component. And at last, I am going to set the overlay. For the overlay, I am going to pass on the component reference and the overlay material. Now let's go over what we are doing. First, the server will have all the highlighted actor. So we are going to find all the highlighted actor. Next, I am going to store that highlighted actor, and based on that highlighted actors, I am going to set up the highlighted materials. I need an actor as well as the highlighted or overlay material for that actor. So that's what I am doing here. I am setting up the actor and material associated with that actor. Next, I am going to set up the highlighted actor list, which is rep notify. So what it will do is, whenever I set the value in this array, it will replicate that value to the client. On the client side, this function will be run. And when I get the array and overlay material, I am just setting all the highlighted actors. One more thing, I also have to set this highlighted material list as replication, as that I needed this variable to be replicated as well. So compile, save, and let's test it out. So again, I am going to play this as number of player as 3 and net mode as a standalone. So let's play this. From the player 1, I am going to set this up as a listen server. So open, map name, question mark, and listen. I am going to highlight this mesh. I am going into the player 2. I am going to join this server as a client. So I am going to open and my local address. And as you can see, it has automatically highlighted this actor. Now from the client 1, I'm going to highlight this actor and I'm going into the client 3 and I'm going to join this as a client as well. And for the new client that have been joined, it has set up highlight materials for our message as well. So it's working as expected. If you found this helpful, please like, share and subscribe to Ocean Interaction. It really helps channel grow and let me keep sharing more free Unreal Engine tutorial with you. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep creating with Ocean Interaction. See you in the next one.